When people learn something about Catholicism, one of the things that they become very curious about is our tradition of celibacy. Celibacy is the state of being unmarried with abstinence from sexual activity. And it's not just a Catholic thing. It's practiced in many different religions around the world. There's the practice of celibacy in Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism, just for some examples. Also in the Old Testament, Jeremiah was called by God to be celibate as part of his prophetic ministry. And in the Catholic Church, celibacy is the norm for all of our bishops and for priests in the Latin Rite and for all members of religious orders like priests, sisters, and brothers. And there are also plenty of lay people who are called to celibacy, either for the whole life or for a number of years. Obviously, celibacy is not for everybody. It shouldn't be for everyone, because if all people became celibate, then the human race would end in one generation. But since the vocation of celibacy has been a part of the Christian church from the very beginning, it's helpful for all of us to understand it some and to appreciate it. So let's explore it a little bit today. First of all, celibacy is based in the Bible. Jesus Christ himself lived a life of celibate love. And he recommends that way of life to those people to whom it has been given. In Matthew chapter 19, Jesus speaks about the value of celibacy. He says that there are some people who have voluntarily renounced marriage for the sake of the kingdom of God. He says, whoever can accept this ought to accept it. And then St. Paul is the one who wrote most of the books of the New Testament. He understood that some people are called to marriage and other people are called to celibacy. In fact, Paul himself was celibate. He writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, "Now to the unmarried and to widows, I say it is a good thing for them to remain as they are, as I do. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry." Paul recommends celibacy in the second reading of today's Mass. He says, "An unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But a married man is anxious about the things of the world, how he may please his wife, and he is divided." He says that he's sharing this for the sake of adherence to the Lord without distraction. So to really understand Christian celibacy, I think it's important to see that celibacy has both an apostolic dimension and a contemplative dimension. If you're really going to understand what Christian celibacy is all about, you have to understand both of those dimensions of this lifestyle of celibacy. Apostolic refers to being sent out to others, and contemplative refers to being prayerfully centered in God. And both of those are angles on Christian celibacy. So first of all, let's look at the apostolic dimension of celibacy. A person who is given the vocation of celibacy is sent out for the good of the community. Celibacy is not for keeping, it's for giving. So by not having a wife and children, I become more mobile, more available to go and serve wherever the church needs me at the moment. It's a sort of a non-exclusive way of loving people that's directed toward the whole community rather than being focused on a spouse and children. Celibacy is not an escape from responsibilities in order to live a comfortable bachelorhood. That's not what it's about. It's not about skating through life and taking it easy. Celibacy is about pouring out our time and our energy into the lives of others, day after day, year after year, in self-giving agape love. That is the apostolic dimension of celibacy. But there's also the contemplative side of celibacy. Celibacy is not only for the sake of availability for ministry. It's also for the sake of a very special kind of intimate relationship with God. That's the contemplative part. There is a space in my life that normally would have been filled with a wife and kids. That's logical, right? By not having a wife and children in my life, that creates a certain empty spot there. So what goes into that space in my life? Not alcohol or food or television, not creature comforts or money. In my experience, what goes into that space is Jesus. There's a special reserved spot in my heart, in my solitude, in my day, in my room, that is only for Jesus. It's a special, personal, intimate kind of relationship. And that is at the heart of my experience of celibacy. That is what feeds my celibate life with energy and with life. Jesus Christ is my most precious treasure, and I'm willing to sacrifice anything and everything for the sake of that treasure. My hope is that all of us will be able to have some understanding of the meaning of the vocation of celibacy as a valid part of our biblical tradition and our Christian heritage. My prayer is that each one of us, as members of our Christian church, will listen attentively to whatever is God's call for us and respond with enthusiasm and joy to the vocation that God gives us.